Good morning and Happy New Year! I hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday season, whether you're resting, feasting, or tackling extra projects. We've been up as a family very early, as we do in our usual routine, but this time we're being home all together, and so we're tackling all of our home projects. This week on the list is finishing our living room, which means that we're putting up curtains. Now this is a little more tricky in this house because where the curtains would go has a big box of drywall, which is making it really difficult to hang curtain rods. With some MacGyvering though, of course, my husband figured it out, and so we have now this double rod attached to the wall, which now comes to my part, which is making the curtains ready for hanging. Adding a loop for the curtains to hang over the rod, and then hemming my very first curtains. And yes, you heard that right, these are my very first curtains that I'll be hemming. And so naturally, I'm just a little bit intimidated. I know many ladies have done this, there's lots of tutorials and things on the internet that show you how to do this, but for some reason this feels just a little bit intimidating. So this will be by no means a how-to video, since I have really no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I have a little idea, but not very much. No experience. I'll just be showing you what I'm doing, and if anyone has any pointers or helpful feedback, I'm all ears. First, I decided how big I wanted the pocket at the top that would hang on the rod. I measured the space that looks good to me and then ironed all along the curtain top, keeping this measurement by just putting it up to the tape repeatedly, making sure that my measurement was correctly all the way. And now I have 4 sections of this beautiful sheer curtain, which I'll be repeating this for all 4 sections, of course. Next, I measured the space from my rod to the floor by stepping on the measuring tape at the bottom and holding it up to the rod. Now, of course, you can see that I am an expert at this. After the measurement, I was confident that I would still have enough room on the curtain after I sewed my big loop, and so I went ahead and sewed the big pocket at the top that would hang from the rod. And then I measured the length of the curtain out here on this table and got totally cold feet. So I'm still determined to finish this, but for right now, I'm gonna leave this and return to this later this week. The new year brings so much refreshment for me. I can't help but feeling like everything needs just a shake out and a fresh beginning and cleaning, especially with this glowing light we have. On the very first day of the year, it was a beautiful day, and so it just seemed appropriate to get busy and get this whole place totally cleaned up so that we not only felt refreshed in ourselves, but also in the space that we're living in. The winter is one of my favorite times to cook because I find it really easy to be inside. I want to be inside, and I like to take the time to do the cooking because we're inside more. But still, I find the days are drifting away into projects so quickly over this Christmas holiday, and so dinner is usually still a pretty quick act. But if I had to think back on all the recent dinners I made, it usually takes me no more than an hour to cook from scratch, or at least get things prepared to bake in the oven. And a thought that kept recurring in my mind as I was cooking this week is how lovely it is that I get to make the dinner and cook the food that I'm craving that day. Like, I'm the one who's making the decisions, which of course I consult my husband. I ask him questions about what he thinks about a choice between, let's say, rice or pasta, but most of the time his answer is it's up to me, pretty much. He doesn't usually have any desires. I think he's just happy that there's food to be eating. So tonight's craving for a quick dinner was baked pasta with cheese. with ground beef, of course, always a meat option in there for us. I start by grabbing a can of tomato sauce from the cabinet and separating it in a strainer so that any kind of watery bits would drip off and I would just be left with the nice thick saucy part. I'm sauteing my ground beef in one of my cast iron pots. To the ground beef, I'm going to be flavoring it with salt and pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and oregano. And while that's all cooking, I'm shredding some cheese in my Cuisinart. I just find this food processor is the quickest way to shred a bunch of cheese at once. And now this meal is so great because it is quick in that everything cooks on the stove within 20 minutes, really, maximum. And then I'm just combining everything into an oven dish, mixing it together, and cooking it in the oven for about 20-25 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And the only thing I would recommend to do instead of what I'm doing here is to mix the cheese into the pasta before putting it into the oven. And you can still layer a bit of cheese on top for that nice seared cheese taste. But I think it would have been so much better if I just also stirred in a little bit of cheese into the actual dish. Well, I'm so excited that we are in a new year, 2025. I'm looking forward to seeing what'll all happen. I can't wait to live more in this space and create here. I can't wait for our garden that will be coming up. I've been doing some planning. I can't wait to share more of that with you. And so until next videos, cheers!